Well, first of all, Devon, welcome to Whitstable and congratulations on the new album, which is fantastic. It's a collaboration with Mike O'Neill. How did the pair of you hook up to record?
Sure. Well, before we recorded, we wrote music for a year and a half or a year, and it was all remote. We had met once in that time, but I had this project called Low Key Karaoke where I would video myself doing a famous song, a cover like a Simon and Garfunkel or Beach Boys or Everly Brothers, and I would sing the harmony instead of the melody, and then try to get people to video themselves, sending in them singing a video of them singing the melody. So then I would splice them together, so it'd be sort of a remote video duet. So he sent in a couple of those, and I was like, oh, these are, way better than usual. And he sent me his record Wild Lines, which was coming out a few months after that. So I got really into the record, and we just emailed a lot, and talking about music became writing. I guess we had played a few shows in Canada within that time, and he showed me a song that he was working on and asked if I could finish it, or if I wanted it, basically. I guess for a while we wrote thinking we were just helping each other with each other's next record, and then realized that we could do a record together. So we recorded in Toronto with the same producer who did my last record.
I was going to ask you that. You chose Toronto to record. Was that because of the experience you had recording I Love You Go Easy there?
Yeah, because I think we could tell that the music was, probably through Mike's influence, was quite a bit different than the music on I Love You Go Easy, and we wanted some kind of tie-in between the two records, and so that felt like a good way of keeping some consistency, even though the material was going to be quite a bit different.
Yeah. You put yourself in the hands of a new producer when you recorded I Love You Go Easy. Mm-hmm. Is there a degree of sizing each other up and throwing ideas backwards and forwards before you actually think, we can do something here?
That's a good question. Sandro Perry is the guy who produced both records. I knew his music and I liked it, and I had coffee with him a few months before we did it, just to meet each other. By that time, I was feeling good about it, and I think it was, we had enough friends in common, and I liked his music enough, and I liked talking to him enough, and I can't speak for him, but he must have been okay with the various ingredients. So I think you are taking a chance, maybe somewhat similar to going on the road with someone, to touring with someone. You're hoping that, some crazy character craziness doesn't come out, a few weeks in, and then you're stuck with that. But I've been lucky in that sense, and I think it's just from having a nice circle of friends and musician friends, and my manager Rich that I work with has a good instinct for that kind of stuff.
Your base, although you're obviously gigging a lot, is Austin, and Mike, I believe, is he Nova Scotia?
That's right, yeah.
So were you writing remotely, sending each other ideas, and were they then honed in the studio, or did you arrive complete with songs, or did some come out of the actual recording session?
Yeah, that's a great question. Basically, the way that we wrote was we would send, one of us would send a demo to the other of just playing and singing. The other person, instead of sort of critiquing it, typing or saying a critique, would just sort of change it and send back a new version, which was a really nice way to work.
Just going back a few years, obviously Canadian-born live a lot in America, but one thing that seems apparent in Canada is the grassroots support for music and musicians, especially through a body like Factor. Was that something you looked to when you were starting out?
No, I have been helped by Factor in the last 2 years. Yeah.
And it's the funding for artistic talent on record?
Foundation to Assist Canadian Talent on record or on recording. Yeah. The cool thing with those kind of organizations is that it's not particularly grassroots. It's a large, well-funded organization. So it is the country and the government of Canada valuing artists and art, versus it having to be, like in the States, for people that aren't on the top tier of pop radio, it really is. It's all about grassroots, word of mouth stuff. In Canada, tons of great grassroots projects and, of course, support, but also general national support as well.
In terms of your record label, Tin Angel, they're based over here in Coventry. Just by looking at their roster of artists and the way they run their website and things, that there seems to be that amount of support, but in, like, for want of a better expression, a cottage industry version of something like Factor. Would that be a fair analysis?
So, like a very supportive environment, just on a smaller scale, you mean? Yeah, I mean, Tin Angel is, as far as independent record labels go, they've kind of worked their way up to. I mean, the roster is not massive, but it's a few dozen people, artists, I'd say, and nobody's rolling in dough at all. But it's very active and very organized, and it's a. The office is a bustling place. It is pretty grassroots in that it's young folks. It's a lot of there's the intern who does the Twitter, and there's the person who comes in and does promo, and Richard Guy is the main dude, and he works his brains out just keeping it all going.
And it is, the industry now is obviously so different from when even you started, let alone 10, 20, 30 years before that it does seem to be that you really have to be all in to actually remain above the tide.
Yeah, I'd say it changes, feels like it changes every year. There's a different kind of focus or a different place that you need to put your energy to kind of stay with it. Even though it will change, there will always be just the business side of things. So my hope is to stay active and stay involved in that sense, but also have enough time to grow as a musician too.
Devon, thanks very much for talking to me. And although you don't need it, I wish you every success for the new album.
Thank you so much. Thanks for
very much.
The wonderful questions and for listening to the records and just being thoughtful.
Thanks very much indeed.